everybody. Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Leah. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we're back from.
We're back from
things to say.
Reading sprees and weeks of sun, finally, here in Sweden.
Oh, we did have snow too, so we're back from snow as well. We're finally out of the snow, but we're getting right back into the snow here in the Sky and the Deep.
Ooh, yeah.
Nice
Good connection.
Yeah.
Love it.
But first we're going to play a game, right?
We're going to play a game because, as usual, we talk about the books that we've been reading. And as you guys know, I got through or went into a Amelia Hutchins vortex and finished 3 of a series of her books. And they're long. They're like 1,000 pages, so this is like no joke 3 books. But also, I powered through them for like when my husband got up to go pee, I would read more. Like the kids were like, "Mom, come and lay down next to me." I'm like, "Okay, honey, I'm just gonna go lay next to the kids and read a couple chapters." So I really squeezed reading into as many parts of my day as possible.
It's my favorite when my daughter was like, "Mom, can you read with me?" And I'm like, "Do you want to read by yourself?" Because in that case, I might just pop these AirPods in. I'll be right next to you.
Oh, AirPods, that's the best. Actually, it's easier when you listen to multitask, but it's harder to read and multitask. Like now, reading these books, I can't cook dinner and read the book. I tried. It was way too complicated. I walked away, then I forgot where I left off, and I kept reading the same sentence over and over.
Struggle is real.
We can't
Struggle is real.
We're gonna read when we drive.
We're gonna need to get those glasses where the text are gonna scroll in front of our eyes so we can see through them and read at the same time. I see a tech idea here. Where are my tech friends that they can develop this stuff?
It sounds great.
Because it's not me.
It's not me.
I will not be developing this at all.
But I could give you all the ideas, but implementing them is gonna have to be on somebody else. Okay, but so during these books, there is a main character, and she's pretty badass. She's a Hecate witch, and Hecate is a character who was in the recent Persephone books that we read also, and she's super cool witch and quite badass. And it's like as if she had a line of descendants. All right. So this is Hecate's granddaughters that are now rising. But all of the Hecate line have done fucked up stuff to the people of these 9 realms. They all have magic, but there's really old other like demons and magical creatures that exist also sometimes within a person. So they can be like part witch, part something else that have been like interbred.
All right.
Okay, so
interspecies breeding.
Breeding.
Okay.
Now we know.
I don't approve, but I am with you. I think so far.
Okay, good. So this Hecate witch is the main character. She's half Hecate witch, and she doesn't know who her father is, so she doesn't know what her other side is. Okay. Her hair turned silver as a child. She was like 4 years old, and her hair turned silver
from
blonde.
So she went grey, basically. So
but it's silver, not grey. They mentioned
she aged fast.
Yeah, she aged really fast.
At 4 years old, she was already grey. Okay, right?
Yeah. So she gets silver hair. She has a twin sister who didn't get silver hair. She got all of the powers, and her sister didn't get any of the Hecate witch powers.
All right, so her sister's all the father.
Her sister is, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
But her sister is like psycho. So we'll just leave that at that.
So all the father.
All the father. But we don't know what the father is. But
I'm going to jump to conclusions.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. All the father.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Wolf. Silver hair. It's going to be wolf. Werewolf.
Okay.
I'm calling it.
But it's not. But that was a good guess. So after maidenhood broken, after her maidenhood broken, that's what I'm going to call it. It's maidenhood after you have sex for the first time.
So once she became a woman.
Once she became a woman.
No, once she had sex.
Her dormant side of the father came out, and she grew claws, and her hands turned black, and she had razor sharp black teeth, and she makes a rattling noise that sends people the message of like fear and like watch out. and she makes a purring noise to say, like, I love you and come and get me.
So she's a dragon.
That's a good guess. And
because, I mean, I'm thinking claws, black hands, purring. They say that dragons are a bit like cats, so...
Cool.
So I'm changing with dragon.
They hint to dragons. Okay, this will go a little bit more on your side. So this is the next clue. She can be consumed by fire without issue, but she cannot control the fire.
Dragon.
She's a dragon, right?
Dragon,
okay.
For sure.
So the next one is, once she gets this side of her, she has increased endurance and increased strength, and she actually gets, like, ripped muscles.
Could be dragon.
Could be dragon still. Okay. She cannot breathe underwater.
Dragons can't breathe underwater. They can breathe fire.
This is the final clue. During her heat cycle, she makes a nest. Oh, heat cycle is my new word for...
Period.
No, ovulation.
Ovulation. So she makes a nest, but she's a dragon then, because they hoard and they nest and they do all of these things.
So we don't know, even after the third book, exactly what she is, but they hint at either a phoenix or a dragon.
I guess phoenix, but phoenix shouldn't it be orange? Isn't
but
phoenix orange?
She, like, makes a nest like a bird.
Yeah, but the dragon does that too.
Dragon makes nests?
Yeah, they make that.
Okay,
because you know dragons are real. So we know how they behave.
So we're gonna guess she is part dragon, part witch. Let's see what happens in book 4.
You're gonna have to keep me updated here because I am not reading these books.
But how hilarious is all of these things that happen to her throughout 3 books? And we still don't know what she is.
I'm gonna say gargoyle.
Ooh, gargoyle.
But it's only because of Covenant.
Yeah.
And Crush and
But I think this is something we should do. Whenever we read books that have characters that don't tell us what they are, we should play a little, like, tips game of what we think. What could she be?
Yeah. I'm with you. That's good. I like that. I like playing games.
All right, but what have you been reading this week?
Well, I've been reading our book of the week, Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. And like I said the last time, I was not too sure what this book was going to be about. It was a little bit hard to predict. But once I finished it, all my predictions were wrong. But that was okay because I love this book. I didn't actually love the beginning. I found the start to be very slow. And I had a hard time getting into it.
Because you had to learn a lot of characters and, like, clans and different terms.
I really struggled with the motivation. Because it was the whole thing, like, Elin, the main girl, our main character, she's an Aska. And the Askas fight against the Rikis on the battlefield every 5 years. And I'm like, why? What is the motivation for this? Like, who came up with this 5-year interval? Like, who decided this stuff? Like, why are they doing it? Why is it not every year? Why is it not like a continuous rivalry? Why is it every 5 years? So that I didn't like. But it's the motivations for, like, the hatred, that's not clear, but I understand why the people hate each other, because they've been raised to believe in this rivalry for their whole lives. So I understand that because it's been going on for forever. So what happens in this, when we finish the first 3 books, Elin had just done a sacrifice, and then she goes to sleep in her tent with her dad, and then she gets woken up in the middle of the night because the Riki are attacking their camp. And so she battles, readies herself, and she gets out there with her dad and Myra, and they get in the line and they race up onto this battlefield again. And again, she sees
her brother,
and she sees this Riki guy that he is with. So she chases them down, and her brother keeps saying, like, go away, leave us, don't follow, run away, you don't understand, leave us. And this Riki guy is like, let's just kill her. And her brother's like, no, she's just let her run. And he's like, let's just kill her. And then it's a little bit of a thing, and then this Riki guy kind of chokes her until she passes out. And when she wakes up, she's on a cart. She's bound, and she is being taken by the Riki people. And her brother is riding on a horse there along all the Rikis, and she is not happy about this. Elin is not happy. She is looking to escape. She spots a place where she can, and she makes a run for it. She steals a horse, and then this Riki guy puts an arrow through her shoulder.
Okay.
And then they take her back to the cart and they're like, well, stay. And she's very injured, and it's a couple of days, and then they dump her in a barn and they start looking after her. And then her brother comes and he's like, I can't really talk. And this Riki guy comes and he's like, fine, we're going to heal you up and we're going to get this arrow out of you, but you're going to have to be quiet. Like, you don't put Eerie, her brother, at risk. Like, don't say anything, don't say it, tell anyone you know him, don't anything, you're going to put him at risk. And this Riki guy, his name is Fisk. And this is really where I went like, no, please no, just no. Because Fisk, the way it's pronounced in the audiobook, it's spelled with an E at the end in the actual book, but in the audiobook it's Fisk. It's a Swedish word for fish. And this is the main love interest. It becomes clear throughout this book that he is the love interest. And then there's many points where Fisk looked at her with his mouth open, and all I see is like a cod doing the fish face, and I'm like, this is not hot. I'm sorry, it's just not.
It's not
and
hot.
At one point, Fisk is actually fishing, and I'm like, no,
not your own kind.
Own kind. Cannibalism, terrible.
But okay, so we're Swedish, or you're Swedish, and I'm half Swedish, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we know that fisk is the word for fish. But I would assume also that the author did, because this is a Viking setting.
Yeah, and I mean,
so she would have had to
names.
do research of like at least like Sweden, Norway, Iceland kind of
I get the
areas.
feeling that this is either Norway or Iceland kind of based. Based on the layout and the way they're describing the seasons and stuff. I
But
think
still very much fish. She would have seen that fisk means fish.
Yeah.
And fish is just, well, it's not that sexy. It's a little
really
slimy.
So when she's in this barn, they've healed her up a little bit. They cleaned her up, and then she's taken and they put a metal collar on her to make her a slave, or a deer, like they call her, which is like a slave or an indentured. And then she is almost about to be sold into sex slavery into one of the other villages. Like, this guy is trying to purchase her for sexy reasons, I believe.
Great.
She does not want unconsensual, non-consensual, not approved. But Fisk swoops in and purchases her and takes her back to his house. And he's not very kind about it. And it turns out that Eerie also lives in this house, but he won't really talk to Elin when they get to the house. Like, it's very like, no one will really tell her what the frick's going on or why it's like this. And so he takes her there. The mom is like, hi, I'm Inga. You're going to be helping me out. But they still treat her like not like a part of the family. Like, she's very much like a slave. She gets to sleep in like the corner, and she doesn't get to eat with the others and all of this and that. So she's like angry. And Elin is like, well, fuck my brother. This is bullshit. He's betrayed us. I'm just going to escape.
Yeah.
But the snow is fallen, so it's hard to get from their village down to her own village. So she needs the way. And it turns out that Eerie, the brother, in the last battle season, he was gravely injured. Finds out later that Fisk gravely injured him. Mm-hmm. And his guts were spilling out, and they've fallen down a trench. So Elin and Elin's dad they wanted to get him out, but they couldn't, and they thought he was dead, so that's why they left him. But Fisk's dad came back to get him a couple of days later, and then Fisk had been taking care of Eerie, like packing his wounds with snow and stuff. And he insisted that they bring Eerie back. And he was supposed to be made a deer, like a slave, him too, but it took so long for him to heal. And during this time of healing, he became part of the family. And it takes a while for this book to tell us how old these people are. But she is 17. And these fighting seasons are every 5 years, and you can only be a part of them from when you're 11. So she's only been a part of one fighting season before, when she was 12 years old, and this was when Eerie disappeared. And he's only about a year older than her, so he would have been 13 at the time in his first killing season.
Yeah.
And then now she's 17, he would be 18 or maybe 19. And I mean, I can kind of see it. Like, even if you're rescuing this little 13-year-old kid and you take him and he's gravely injured and you have to heal him back from basically the brink of death. Like, I think you'd have to be pretty cruel to not make him a part of your family during this time. Like, kind of, like, I get why
Why they're so close.
Yeah,
like
and the mom, Inga, she's also the healer, so she would have taken care of him. And Fisk, because he'd been stuck in this trench with him, like starving and dying for a couple of days, like they bonded at that point.
But it at least shows that this Reiki people, they're not like so super bad people.
Exactly.
And it makes you root for them
and
also.
This is what Eerie keeps saying, that, yeah, you can go back. And when he finally talks to Elin, he's like, yeah, you can go back, but you have been changed by this. Because now you know that these are people just like ours.
Yeah.
And then, so as an indentured, as a deer, she's been taken to like the holy chapel place, whatever, to have the ceremony where they're gonna praise the warriors that went to the battle season against the Aska. And her brother is then being praised, and she's like, he went and killed his own people, and she's so angry by this. So she storms out, and this other guy comes up and also wants to sex slave her. Not
so much
cool.
Sex. I mean, it's Viking era.
And then Fiske is there, and he's like, fucking leave her alone. She's mine. I own her. I actually literally purchased her, so leave her alone. And Elin is like, screw you, I don't like you. And he's like, fuck you, just leave. Yeah. I'm just going to tell Eerie that you ran into the woods and you died.
Thanks for that. So romantic.
Yeah.
This relationship is starting out just golden.
Yeah. But during the party after this, so she goes back in with him because she doesn't want to die, I guess. And during this party afterwards, she finds out that her brother Eerie is then betrothed, I guess. He's engaged to be married to this girl, Runa, who's the healer's apprentice. And also the girl that stitched and cleaned Elin up when she first came to the Reiki village. So then she gets even more angry because she's like, not only did he abandon his family in the Aska family, he's come here, he's got a new family, and he's also in love with one of them. Like, Elin just loses her poop on this, like she's not happy. And the family, like, Fisk and Eerie are like the only ones that know that Elin is Eerie's sister, but there's a lot of other people that kind of suspect it because they look alike a lot. And the family, Fisk's family, they are looking after Elin. Like, the mom allows her to try to run away when they go out hunting, and then she makes it to the root cellar. She tries to pack a snack, and then this guy who tried to sex slave her outside of the ceremony, where Fisk was telling him to go away, he comes and he takes her out. And I was sure there was going to be rape, but there's no rape. He just cuts her clothes off and ties her to a tree to leave her to freeze to death.
So nice. This guy is just...
He is the freaking worst. And then when Fisk finds her, he wraps her up in a cloak, and I think this is really where the love starts.
Yeah.
And he brings her back, and then he goes and beats this sex slavery dude up a lot. Then we find out that Elin's mom was killed by this other clan of people, the Herja, I believe they call. Yeah, the Herja, in a raid when both her and Eerie were young.
Okay.
So, like, I think they were 6 or 7 years old, something like that, like little. And they're more like a myth kind of people. Like, they don't really think they exist for reals. But then one of the days in the Reiki village, they're being raided by the Herja. And then Elin protects Fisk's younger brother, Halvard, who's actually, like, kind of the first one to accept her into the family, and the one he's always kind to her. So this like 11-year-old boy, and so she tries to protect him. He gets taken, and then she goes with Fisk to get him back. And then during this getting him back, she also saves the Tala, the spiritual leader of the Reiki people. And then they together hatched this plan of getting the Aska and the Reiki, bringing them together to fight against the Herja. And this Tala, she does like this blood promise where she cuts her hand and she shakes it with Elin's as a blood promise that they will not backstab them. So Elin goes with Fisk to find her people, and when they get back to her Aska village, the village is like burned to the ground, like it's been raided already by the Herja. But she finds her friend Mira there, who's come back to pick up some stuff. And they're at this secret hiding spot where they would go, which is safe. And Elin wants to bring Fisk, and Mira is like, no, you can't bring him. He's Riki. He's just going to come back with all of his people and kill us all. And Elin's like, no, I trust him. And this is where the love, and because he goes like, he's taken off her collar at this point. Like before they even leave, he's like, takes her to the smith and he's like, I want you to take the collar off. And then she's like, I don't belong to you. And he's like, you belong to me, just like I belong to you. And it's all romantic.
That is
And they
romantic.
do a lot of kissing and stuff. And then they go, I'm getting rambly, I'm sorry.
From sex slave to
And then they go to the Aska hiding spot, and Eileen's dad is alive, and it's all good, and she manages to get him on board. Because first Aska was like, screw it, we're just going to take this Riki guy, we're going to pretend to be his friend, and we're going to make him take us to their place, and we're going to kill them all. But as they're leaving, she tells her dad that Erie's alive. And when he sees Erie, when they're meeting with the leaders, because Erie's gone with them, he just... Oh my god, he is so happy that his son is alive, and it forges this peace in between them, and they bind together to take on the Heria, and they literally do it by like sneaking into their camp at night and slitting their throats while they sleep, and then it's like this massive battle, and they go in the water, and then Eileen all of us dies, and Fisk is like, no, and then he goes and saves her. And they beat the Heria back, and then the clans are at peace with each other, and Eileen's like, I want to stay in the Aska towns, like Huli, and Fisk is like, wherever you go, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to choose to stay with you because I love you, and I belong to you, and not like a slave, but like they belong to each other. And it's all love. And then it's book 2, and I'm like, what the frick is book 2 going to be about?
Yeah, because all of
this
that
is like
stuff
a
happened.
nice wrapped up story.
Very much.
So, what did you think?
What book 2 is going to be about?
No, what did you think of this book?
Oh, I like the book a lot. I mean, I was in and out listening to it because I was so consumed by reading this Amelia Hutchins's bad
Priorities.
weird
What is
dragon love story in the background, so I got lost, but I picked up on the romantic relationship between Fisk and Elin really early. I had higher hopes for Mira. I thought she was going to be a way bigger part of the book, but she wasn't. Especially, like, started out like, oh, we're BFFs and everything about her, top to bottom. I'm like, of course, she's going to betray her at some point, and, you know, that was
she tries.
Yeah.
She does try to betray her, because she wants to kill Fisk, and Elin actually has to stop her when they go. So she does try to betray her, and she's like not as impressed by the fact that Erie's alive as the dad is. She's like, I don't care. These are our mortal enemies, you know. Whatever.
But I love all Viking stuff. I like the Viking series, and
again, never watched it.
I can't believe that. You're Swedish. It's blasphemy.
It is not blasphemy. I don't need to watch it. It's in my
happened
history. It's in my blood. No. I'm sure my people were not Vikings. I'm sure we were like freaking farmers or something. Tending our goats.
It was one or the other, right? There was nobody else. Or maybe it could be royal.
Doubtful.
Okay.
I don't know, Sweden doesn't have Swedish royalty. Like, all of our royalty, like, our royal
Viking
families came from, like, France, where we...
That's true.
Because this is a funniest story. Like, I love the story of how the Swedish royal family came to Sweden, because we sent someone off to fetch Napoleon to be the Swedish king. And whoever we sent was like, no, we don't need Napoleon, we're going to get Bernadotte instead. And he went and fetched someone else and basically told him, you're going to be the king of Sweden if you come with me. And this guy learned Swedish on the way here. And when he gets to Malmö, he does his speech in Swedish, and people don't understand him and laugh at him. And he never spoke Swedish again. His entire rule.
Whoa. Whoa. I would do that too. I would also stick my toes in there. Like, I spend my whole traveling here learning this speech, learning
and
this
people
language.
are like, what the frick is he saying? We don't understand him. And then they laughed. Oh, he's trying to speak Swedish. Then they just laughed.
I could see so much French in the families that are now, because that son, he's super handsome, the prince.
He is handsome.
He is like,
God.
whoa.
Prince
I didn't
Carl
even
Philip?
know. I didn't even know that there was a royalty.
I've known about him my whole life. I've got my eyes on him the whole time.
I didn't know he existed. When I came here, I was I was
you were like
mystified. I was mystified.
You were immediately sure you chose the wrong Swede to marry, right?
I was like, whoa.
Even though, never met him, right? My husband's met him. the prince.
Wow.
Yeah, he was on some event with him.
He's wildly handsome.
He is so handsome. Anyways,
not
good
typical
prince.
Swedish looking either. So you could tell that there's foreign blood in there.
Well, the mom is German. Brazilian German, I think she is.
It's amazing. They're a good family.
Beautiful, beautiful. The prince.
So we go into the second book and we don't know what it's going to be about.
No, but first we're gonna judge the book
cover.
by its cover
and see what it's going to be about. See if we can tell if it's going to be different from the first or the second.
And so the second book in the series is called "The Girl the Sea Gave Back," and the cover is of this woman coming out of the waves. We see her back. She's got tattoos on her arms, and she's got bow and arrows, and so she's reaching for an arrow behind her, and she's got this long, dark blonde hair. So again, I think we're looking at some fighting going into this one.
Yeah. This looks to be a little bit like it could be some like sea demon monster.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe piratey stuff.
I'm gonna go with piratey. Piratey sounds good. I'm on board.
I like it though. I like both of these covers. Adrienne Young has amazing covers for all of her books.
And she writes really good books. I really like her books. So this is also by Adrienne Young, The Girl the Sea Gave Back. And I started listening to this book. I gave up on trying to read. I don't know why.
No?
I should probably read it. I like reading. But I wanted to... What I found with the Sky and the Deep was that I spent so much time trying to figure out how the frick to pronounce the name, because Eerie is I-R-I. So I was like, is it Irie? Is it Eerie? How am I supposed to pronounce this?
True.
And there was a lot of the names where I was like, how do we pronounce this? So when I switched over to the audiobook, it was actually kind of nice to have someone just freaking tell me that it's like this.
Yeah.
Even though there was, because clearly she did research, there were some words when they speak in the native tongue and like their sacred words and stuff like that, there's some words that are clearly based in Scandinavian languages. Like I recognize a few of them. Like älska, which is love. But so I started listening to this and immediately noticed when they introduced the narrator, there's two narrators.
I love that. This is my favorite. I really need to look more into which book I'm going to read based on the fact that it has multiple narrators.
Yeah, for sure. We are now going to diss all the... unless they're read by the woman who reads the Chain of Iron.
The Cassandra Clare,
oh my god, she's
that's
the best.
A beautiful voice.
So the best. So anyways, this new book, The Girl the Sea Gave Back, starts at a new village with a new clan. And these are called the Kira. And the Kira are... They seem to have lots of tattoos, that's the thing. And they seem to speak with runes, and they seem to be able to foretell kind of the future kind of thing. And here they give their dead to the ocean, and they set fire to the boats. So it starts with this father and mother, and their 6-year-old daughter is dead. So they're placing her in the boat, they're pushing the boat out, and they're shooting the arrow with the flame, and it sets the boat on fire. And that's it.
That's all we know about the daughter.
They're called
the
Nader people or something like that.
Okay.
Not sure if I got that right. I was meant to look up the spelling, but then I didn't.
Good.
And then we switch to yet another village. This village is called Lira, and it's in the headlands. And in this village, the clan, the Swell, lives. And the Swell have fate spinners who decides the fates of everyone. And sometimes you can see them. They're like old but ageless people that you can meet in the forest from what I gather.
Very cool.
And the Swell are then enemies, I guess, with the Aska and the Riki. And the problem here is now that we moved 10 years into the future from the Sky and the Deep. And since the Aska and the Riki made peace with each other in the other book, they are now still at peace with each other, and they've created this new group of people that's called the Nadir, which is the Aska and the Riki together. And this is disturbing to the Swell because they're like, look, these people are gaining strength. We might have to fight them. We should probably still attack them now before they're too strong.
Yeah.
And this guy, Jorund, is out walking, and he finds one of these fate spinners that leads him to the waterfront where he finds a boat with the Nader girl from the Nader, which has the little girl in it, and she's not dead. So she's alive. And she's covered in tattoos. And she has a mark of a true tongue, which is someone who can read the rune stones and actually tell the fates. And he thinks that since the spinner brought him there, it has been his sacred task to take care of this girl. But he believes that his village will have a very hard time accepting this and accepting her because they are not friendly with each other, these clans. And the girl is Tova.
Yeah.
The whole clan
also another
is
Swedish name.
Afraid of her. And she's one of the points of view. The other points of view is Halvard, which we met in Sky and the Deep. It was Fisk's little brother who was taken by the Heria. And he lives with Fisk and Elin and Mira and Elin's dad.
Nice household.
in the Hewley village, in the Aska village. And he's being groomed to take over as a leader of the village. And the Nadir are still struggling because they lost a lot of their fighters in their little civil war there between the Riki and the Aska. So they have a lot of people that fought a lot. They're getting a bit old for fighting, but the young ones haven't had the training, or they lost too many people basically, so they're still weak. The Swells have made an attack on one of the Nadir villages, and this could be the beginning of war. So they bring Tova in to throw runes to see the fortune, like tell how is this going to play out if they attack the Nadir. And she throws her runes, and all of the stones land face down, apart from one, and this one says destruction of all. So she basically says if you go to war with them, there will be no more Swell. Like it will be total destruction. And
that's
not
where
great.
we leave off.
So she will go with the Swell to meet the Nadir leader, and Halve will go with the Nadir leaders to meet the Swell, and the Swell have offered reparations for attacking the village. And this is where the end of the 3rd chapter leads off. So prediction time here.
There's a lot of stuff that happened in just 3 chapters.
Because it's a long introduction as well. It's an introduction and 3 chapters.
But it does give us at least more than the first book did of what could possibly happen throughout this book. Because the first book we were like, okay, 3 chapters were so short, we had no idea.
Oh, no.
Our predictions were mostly wrong, other than the fact that I thought it was going to be typical Viking, pillaging and destruction and taking over villages. But what do you think about this one?
I think Halvard and Tova is the love story.
Yeah.
I think more peace is on the way. I choose to interpret her throwing the runes and the total destruction of the Swell doesn't mean that they will be wiped out. I mean they will be merged in with the Nadir.
Okay.
So they will no longer be a Swell. It will be a full group of people. And I also believe that I believe in peace and love is my comment.
Is it? Did you put an emoji?
I believe in peace and love. No. And I think then that Tova will Halvard will help Tova try to find her parents, because they thought she was dead when they put her in the boat.
Oh, right. The parents are going to come into
and
play.
She believes that she was a sacrifice to the gods, because that's what she's been told by the Swell, that when her parents put her in the boat, that they were sacrificing her to the gods. But I think where she came from is fairly secluded from what I gather, so I think he's going to help her get there, and this is also going to lead to more. I'm peace all over the world.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. I predict a lot of killing and a lot of same Viking stories. The love story, of course, too. But I think that there's going to be more destruction than peace. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure there's going to be lots of fighting and lots of dead people before we get to the actual peace part. But I think the end will be a unification kind of thing. That's my belief.
Do you think the MCs from the first book are going to come into play and be maybe like head of state or some royalty happening?
I don't think royalty, but I think they're going to come into play. I know they're not into play right now because they're out on some mission somewhere, but they're going to come back. Because they've already been mentioned, and it's 10 years in the future, so they would be in their late 20s at this point. We'll see. We will see.
Read along with us.
You should. These books are excellent.
I know.
Do read along
by
with
Adrienne Young, and if you get a chance to read her other books, Fable and Namesake,
you should do
it.
That
They're
too.
so good.
Oh my god, yes. Do it. Do it.
Listen to Leah's advice. She just says do it.
I say do it. All right. Well, have a great week. Read along with us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Leah Sanford. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.